Let's start with theory. So for the theory session, I am going to use a PowerPoint. Start that. And we'll talk about why this course. So some of these things are obvious. Of course, why posture? Why improving posture? Posture has so many benefits. Health, practically health of every single organ. If you talk about musculoskeletal system, of course, we know that posture affects how your lumbar spine, your lower back, how your neck, how your shoulder functions, practically impacts everything from head to toe. Posture will impact how you breathe. Posture will impact your digestion. If we sit slumped with our breastbone digging into our stomach, of course, that physical pressure that your breastbone applies to the stomach may contribute to some things like GERD, acidity, or indigestions or other troubles. Circulatory system is very much impacted by our posture. If we stay compressed in some places, blood cannot penetrate as easily. So health in general. Good posture allows us to move with ease, with simplicity, with grace. Breathing is affected. Your balance and posture are practically the same thing. There is no good posture without good balance. Good posture allows you for your center of mass, which is usually somewhere below our belly button, to ride high. When we're slumped, when we're collapsed, our center of mass is lowered, and therefore our ability to start movement is a little bit diminished or significantly diminished. And of course, things like confidence, how you appear, how you look, this also is why this course, why you're here. In terms of health of spine, this workshop, this course is also something that I've thought about for a very long time, because as a physical therapist and the Feldenkrais practitioner, I often have people who are in crisis with their lower back, sciatica troubles, searing pains, sometimes numbness, tingling. And in a certain group, not all 100%, don't take me wrong, I'm not saying that every back pain will respond well to extension, but there is a significant portion of people who suffer from back troubles that actually will benefit a great deal from movements of extension. So we're going to address health of spine through awareness of what you're doing, how are you doing, how you're standing, how are you moving, where are you moving, and the movement itself. We'll go beyond our limitations that are forced by our habits. One of the big topics will be to normalize the pressure that you apply, each vertebra applies into the disc, those jelly rings that are in between our vertebra. So good posture can normalize loading of the discs. Bad posture leans on a certain portion of the disc, and the discs start to deteriorate, bulges, sometimes even herniates or completely tears. And we're going to talk about distribution of movement, because one thing is learning extension, bending backwards, standing and doing some of the McKenzie, if you've heard of that term before, McKenzie extension or press-ups or yoga, cobra position, backward bendings. One thing that we want to do is to learn to alter where you're moving, because you have 24 vertebrae. Most of us, some people have an extra vertebra or have missing one or fused one or a few. But most of us have 24 vertebrae, and how we use them is our unique handwriting. And it's not the only way. How you're bending backward right now doesn't mean that this is the only option that you have and forever you have to be moving like that. The point that I'll try to make and prove throughout each session is that you can alter, you can enhance, you can shift. If you have a section of your spine that is little on the sick side, little bit of inflamed or with some kind of trouble, by shifting strain away from that section and employing other parts of your spine to take over the work, it will have healing quality to those sick areas, to those areas that need help. The resources that I often use are Complete Anatomy app that I'll be pulling often in our sessions, and the Kinesiology of Musculoskeletal System by Donald Newman. These are fantastic books. For example, this image is from Donald Newman's book. When we talk about posture, very often we get an external or visual idea that this is how it looks or how it should look. Like you have classic here, perfect posture according to anatomists or clinicians, doctors. You have that part. If you touch, go ahead and touch with your right index finger, go behind your right ear and find that bony bump in the back of the ear. So that's what they called mastoid process, the mastoid process of your occiput, of your bone of the back of the head. So this point, ideally, when you stand upright, will run all the way down in front of your sacrum, a little bit in front of the second vertebra of the sacrum, a little bit behind the hip joint, a little bit in front of the knee, and landing somewhere in the midfoot area. And as you see here, that this red dot straight line is the only thing that is really straight. If you look at a skeleton or the purple line here, there is no one straight place. It's all curves, right? Even if you think of the femur or the line of the thigh, it's leaning a little bit backward. The same thing for the shin. So there is nothing straight about our posture. Dr. Feldenkrais had a fantastic way of differentiating between alignment and good posture, because he said that there are some people who have proper alignment, might even call it ideal alignment, and they still don't have good posture. Because if you just obsess about being straight, holding yourself straight, being almost compulsive about holding yourself like this, you lose your mobility, your ability to be free, to initiate movements with ease, to dance, to jump, to squat down, to sit down. His idea of good posture was more action-oriented, and he quoted a term acture. He wanted to replace word posture, which connotates some static idea, immobility, like a post posture. He wanted to change it to acture, meaning our ability to move in any direction without any hesitation, without any preparation. Here's a picture of an ideal spine. And if you look, there is no one vertebra. Maybe there is one vertebra that is really straight, but all others are part of curves. Take a look. In the neck, when you're standing upright with this quote unquote ideal, I have never met an ideal person yet, so I don't know what it means. I don't have ideal posture. I've never seen an ideal spine, but it's all an asymptote that we want to move toward. When you look at neck, it's back. The neck is in a little bit of backward bending. You can see the extension of the cervical, it's called lordosis, meaning arch of the neck. It's about 30 to 35 degrees of arching, of extending. If you look at the middle back of the idealized spine, it's in forward bending. It's in a little bit of slump, a little bit of roundness, and this is ideal. In fact, 40 degrees. You could say it's big, 40 degrees of roundness, and that what makes perfect spine. Then in the lumbar spine, in the lower back, we have again quite a large amount of backward bending. This is our neutral spine. It's like an S curve. And if you think of, if we look like this is not straight, this is not straight, maybe around the 7th thoracic vertebra, you could argue that maybe this is kind of parallel to the line of the floor, of imaginary floor. But the rest is in some sort of curve, and that's ideal. And as you see, there are two curves, the lower back and neck curve, that are backward. It's part of our extension, of our arching. And that's what I want to devote this next 30 days too. Improving your ability to move backward. We're not going to be interested in pushing to the limits. Is often people ask me, Marek, but isn't arching bad for you? I've heard that arching is bad. It could be bad if you're massively jackknifing in one vertebra or two vertebrae when the movement is not distributed throughout your whole spine. But arching as an extension is part of normal human movement. Now, little asterisk, and I want to say it's started from today's session, even though today's session will be pretty safe for everyone. But the whole course, there are conditions that may not be appropriate. The arching or extending, bending backward may not be appropriate for some people. And we will do in a moment something to find out whether you are the person who should proceed with this course or should take it easy. So we will look into symptoms. If by bending backward, your pain, numbness, tingling, paresthesia, meaning numbness and tingling, or you have some neurological weakness like foot drop, your foot is getting weaker, or you get some problems with the bladder, holding urine, leaking, or bowel control. In those conditions, they're rare. Overall, they're rare. Extension may not be appropriate. So if you've heard that you, for example, and I don't want to discourage anyone with spinal stenosis from this course, because you can learn to redistribute movement to other places than that one area of stenosis. But if you have a medical condition and you are uncertain, run it by your doctor or by your physical therapist or clinician with whom you work, and ask if gentle extensions are right for you or if you should stay away. Because there are some conditions like spinal stenosis and spondylolisthesis that would require more fine-tuned approach. I do use extension with people with spinal stenosis and even with spondylolisthesis, but my goal is to shift it away from that place where they have it. So I don't want to get too medical, but just briefly, spondylolisthesis is kind of a slippage. If you have this kind of condition where one vertebra is sliding on top of the bottom vertebra, if you started to arch in a big, massive way, doing some cobras, big backward bends, you can actually make things worse. So with a person like this, I'll be interested, and this is harder to do it in the course when you are the only person who is managing it all. This would require more of the one-on-one work or consulting with somebody who knows these things and learning how could you awaken this natural movement of backward bending, but not from that place that requires just kind of quietness and not much moving there. Okay, so how will you know? We'll do it together so you will get a sense. First is a simple position, a simple test position of a sphinx. You will, in a moment, I'll ask you to lie on the stomach, and you will lie on your elbows like this, and we'll spend 30 seconds or so in this position, and we'll observe if your sciatica or if numbness or tingling is getting worse. Again, then I would look for, if this was my client and he said that when he does this, he gets more pain down the leg, I would be thinking maybe extension is not right for him or her or them, or maybe that person would need to learn how not to bend here backward, but learn to bend backward between the shoulder blades, lower portion of thoracic spine, to shift it away from this area. So this will be one of the tests. Another test could be a press up, where you will go a little bit further back. Although we're in the course, we're not going to go that far because this is not a functional movement. You don't need these kind of movements in everyday activities. If you were a gymnast, athlete, dancer, that's a different story. You need that kind of full terminal end range of motion. But for most of us, we won't need that much. So come up to standing, please. Let's do a test. First of all, feel how you feel. And I'm not saying here to you that, let's say somebody has some stiffness and they will do a little bit of backward bending. And while they do it the first time, they feel a little bit of a tweak or a little feel of discomfort. Do not panic. That doesn't mean like, oh, I should stop. I'm talking more on people who have sciatica and they know their sciatica. They do this movement and a zinger down the leg that makes it worse. You do it again, and it's consistently making it worse. Then I would say, don't do this program. Email me. Let's figure out what will be the better approach for you. As you're standing, just check how you're feeling. Observe your posture right now. Feel how you stand. Remember, you touch that place on the back of your, in front of your ear, back of your jaw. How is that part falling down your body to the floor? Is it going to your heels? Is it going to the right side, perhaps, to the left side? Great. Or is it straight down the legs? And now place your hands on the small of your back, on your pelvis. Put your thumbs back, hands on your pelvis, and a few times look up. Don't do anything massive. Look up and bend yourself back, and then return. Do this movement a few times simply. Don't be tempted to go anywhere near the limit. Learn to enjoy beginning of motion, just starting, and then come back. And sense if this is comfortable for you. And for those of you who already feel, oh, zinger down the leg or something catching really bad, then I would say this is our first little bit of a yellow red flag that maybe this would not be for you. Or again, we need to learn how to move in different places. Wonderful. Come to the stomach. Lie down on your belly, either on the floor or on the bed, whatever you use for the exercises, for what you will be doing. And prop yourself on your elbows. Prop yourself in a Sphinx position, the thing that I showed previously. I will pop the screen back up on it. Here. So you're on your elbows in this kind of position, in the position of elbows underneath your shoulders, and your whole back is in gentle amount of arch. And feel, how are you? How are you feeling? If there is anything if there is a sharp increase of pain, or your foot gets numb when you do this, or you have some other symptoms, again, this would probably be an indicator. I'm not sure if I want to do that. Work with somebody individually, consult to find out if this is for you. For most people, it might feel a little stiff, but unless you don't have anything of those threatening symptoms, the course will do very well for you. Wonderful. And please lie on your back. We are going to start the session. So again, for anyone, today's session, it will be pretty mild. We're not going to go back into our development, which will be later on in the program, where when we were babies, we learned how to lift the head up. This was part of what built our beautiful posture. We're going to do a little bit more of advanced things as we progress with our sessions. Today, pretty mild. We're not going to go into any lying on the stomach and positions like that. Great. Lying on your back, please.